Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 28th, 2025 at approximately 9 o'clock p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. Now, with this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, in the background, we do have Storm. He is our primary moderator and takes care of making certain that all the tech works as well as it can. Needless to say, when I've been trying to run a day in the office, Storm isn't handy, and we have more technological problems than I care to count. That said, he is also the one to make sure that problem children are removed before they become problem children. So, for those of you that are just coming in to create a problem, rest assured, change your name. Storm's going to know it. And then you're just going to get popped anyway. However, if you're not causing a problem, he will end up leaving you alone. Now, with that in mind, we also have LA Moon, who is our secondary moderator, usually in the office to help keep the conversation going and to keep an eye on my health. Because I don't know, she seems to have this thing about me dropping dead on air, which I personally think would be a little bit of an interesting thing, but I've done it before, so it's just not that fun. Here we go. Storm says, sniping snurts from the shadows. Snurt, snot-nosed, egotistical, repulsive twits. That's a term. Twit is a term my eldest brother used to use. Now, today we are looking at streamlining your energetic life. Now, in the office, right off the bat, we have Operation Shutdown. Operation, you are in with the gold. How you doing? Now, just to be clear there, LA, I did have dinner about a half an hour before I got on here. So we should be good. Yeah, LA goes, I don't want you dropping offline either. Oh, dropping out offline. Oh, I don't want you dropping out offline either. Yeah, well, I've tried it a lot of different ways, and I will tell you, it's redundant. And there's not much point to doing it. They keep sending me back. But when we look at streamlining, let's take a look at that word stream. Okay, whenever you've got a river or a stream, you throw a bunch of clutter into it, you throw a bunch of debris into the stream, that stream is not going to flow. Well, energy and water work pretty much the same way. Okay, which is why I talk about clearing all the clutter out of the way. But I'm not talking about just the physical. I'm talking your spiritual clutter, your mental, emotional, and physical. Okay, understanding that the emotional and the logical are both on the mental side of things. But this is why I've spent so much time in the last little while really looking at what I'm going through. Okay, now, I did tell you the other day, I had a new book I was working on. It has been completely edited. I've already to get the cover done, and as soon as it's done, all I gotta do is give her the paperwork along with the ISBN number, and it goes to print. That would be believe in your success and follow your dreams. Now, the energy, you take a look at wherever you work on your finances or your organization. Okay, that's the first area to clear out. Now, I've got about a 15 foot wide office desk. Okay, set up, quite frankly, in 3 tiers. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 tiers, plus the floor. It has completely cleared of the clutter. Now, what that means is I know what I'm doing with the office. Hence, I've gotten back into writing properly. If you take a look at your office, all the stuff that is not out of place. Operation goes, Keith, do you think there is a correlation between physical and mental clutter? Absolutely. I don't do this very often. Absolutely, 100% yes. There is an old saying that goes, the state of your house or the state of your office is a reflection of the state of your mind. Now, from practical experience, I also know for a certainty that the state of your mind is also a reflection of the state of your physical room. Okay, now the question you have to ask is, which is easier? Changing the way you're seeing the world or changing the way the world looks? And I'm referring to just where you're working on your office to start, on your finances to start with. I mean, you think about it. Okay, now I'm holding on to a pen. Now I'm going to hold on to it and I'm going to think about changing it. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I've done that a lot. But here's the kicker to it. I desire my pen to change places. I simply put it in the other hand, that easy. I don't have to imagine it. I don't have to pray to anybody. I don't have to have all these positive thoughts. All I got to do is go, not happy with it in my left hand, I'm going to put it in my right hand. Okay, if you got clutter, if you got clutter in your physical world, and don't take my word for this, okay, really don't. If things are not progressing properly, first thing you do, make sure the clutter in your operating room. That sounds really bad. Make sure that the clutter in your office, wherever you're working on finances or on planning, okay, make sure you get all the clutter out of the way. Everything that doesn't belong there goes. Now, to be clear, I've got a few things sitting here. Okay, we are plugged in. That I keep handy. Okay. But everything that is not part of what I'm working on and is not necessary, I sort it out. Here we go. LA goes, my son's living space had been a complete and utter disaster for years. He went out for 2 days and his dad and I cleaned it. When he came home, he finished it. Told me later he could think again. I wish my brothers had that option. You know, I'm still trying to figure out how they think in the first place. But that's just plain not nice. However, they think the same thing of me. But don't take my word for it. Okay, clear the clutter out of the way. On my desk. Okay. On my desk, I've got paperwork paperwork. I've got articles that I've handwritten because I'm still a dinosaur. I've got my desktop calendar. Okay. And one book that I'm actually reading because I don't feel like closing it. But other than that, everything is sitting here. It all has a place. It's all organized. This mess over on this shelf here, and you can see the end of it. Okay, that came out of my filing cabinet. I still haven't gotten around to it, which may be part of my problem. But by removing the clutter, what you're doing, it's kind of like if you look at a river and you pull all the debris, all the garbage out of it, the water will flow much more freely. Out here. LA Moon goes, I'm not sure if this method would help them remove their heads from certain areas a head doesn't belong. And we're just going to leave that at that point. But I do agree with you. I did, however, just to add to that, the legal paperwork that I required for me to move forward is now back in my possession. Net result, it comes back into my possession. 2 days later, the book's finished. Yeah, Storm goes craniorectal inversion, also known as a polite way to say a very rude thing. And as you well know, we do our best here not to swear. Of course, unfortunately, when my temper goes, swearing is not really that foreign of an object. But as you get things sorted out, if you'll notice, the shelf behind me, this one right here, okay, no longer has a whole pile of stuff on it. All it's got is there's a lamp right there, all of the books I've written, which is about to be enhanced by one. And then I think that's that is another lamp that is no longer plugged in. I just didn't know where to put it just yet. But again, this boils down to getting the stuff out of the way. And, the big thing here, you'll notice, this is my bed. Yes, I've got my office in my bedroom. The reality of it is, I've got this place cleared, and this is the other thing that happens. Get the office done first. That is the brain of your living place and of your office. The bed is where you recover, okay, amongst other things. But having the bedroom cleared out of clutter, you will relax faster. You will relax more effectively. And the fact of the matter is, the sooner you get it done, the sooner you can see it works. And yeah, I did just say the sooner you'll see it works. Don't take my word for it. I get so many people I talk to, but, I just don't see how that's going to help, so I'm not going to do it. Okay? Are you content with the way your life is working now? Never mind what I say. Okay? Are you happy with the way your life is unfolding? If you are, then who am I to tell you not to do it? But I get people calling me up and going, I don't like the way my life is working. So I'll go, here's the way to solve it. But that's too much work. I don't want to do that. Okay, then why are you complaining to me? This is just the reality. If you're not content, you're the one that's going to have to do it. Okay, now, when I talk about getting all of the clutter removed, these articles that I've written here, okay, these are about the things that I personally believe in. I had to get my head on straight and really look at where my hang up is with the spiritual side of things, with the logical, the emotional, and the physical. Okay, and I came to the conclusion that if I come out and tell people, this is my way of acknowledging to myself that these are things that are now changing. Okay, which is why starting in June, okay, Mays will come out tonight or tomorrow, Positive Perspectives. Okay, but starting in June, I'm going to start unveiling that as well. Because the reality of it is this: you get the clutter out of your life. Okay, and sometimes, by the way, you're gonna love this. Sometimes getting rid of the clutter means you've got somebody that's been around, maybe for a long time, okay, that has claimed to be a friend. And yet every time they open their mouth, they're telling you what you're doing wrong, why your life isn't working well. And they'll tell you exactly how to solve it. Of course, if you don't do it their way, they're going to complain. Which means they're not trying to help you solve it. They're trying to control what you're up to. Now, when I wrote Believe in Your Success, the reality of it is this. I took all the clutter I was looking at and went, okay, how do you feel? How did I do it? What steps did I take? Because it really boils down to this. I've cleared my office. Most of my bedroom is now cleared out. The office, by the way, being this 15 foot by about 4 foot maybe 4.5 foot area. Okay, i.e., where I'm sitting and this whole length of the room. This is where I've got my office. Okay, but the moment I got the clutter out of it, all of a sudden I could see straight. Okay, and you'll find the same thing. What you've got to realize is you're the only one in existence that is going to be able to do that. I mean, ask yourself, in most of your cases, who puts your socks on? Is it you, or does somebody else do it for you? Okay, I'm pretty certain the massive majority of you literally feed yourself. You may not feed yourself well, but you feed yourself. And I'm telling you, prayer, affirmations, positive thinking, all of it very valuable because it helps keep you focused. Okay, but, and it's like I tell people, I'm absolutely positive. I'm positive the world is on a collision course with disaster if it stays on its current path. But understand, as this tide comes in, okay, watch the surfers in Hawaii and various other places around the world. As the tide comes in, they get on their surfboards or on their boats, and they head out to meet the tide. This is what we're doing here. Okay, is we're gearing up for a disaster that's heading in. We either meet it head on and compensate for it, or let it run you over. Your call. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm done with the being run over thing. You know, so when we're talking about streamlining, whatever is not contributing to your peace of mind, to your increased energy levels, what is not contributing to your better health and your better temperament, it's time to alter it. How do you go about doing that? Well, first of all, one step at a time. And this is where what I call the list method comes in handy. Okay, you put 3 things on a list to start with. Doesn't matter what they are. Okay. I appreciate that, Blue. How you doing? You are actually in with the bronze today, Blue. You know, I mean, I've got both positive perspectives and positive perceptions going. But I will tell you, much as I absolutely believe that thinking in a positive standpoint is excessively beneficial, doesn't mean I always manage to do that. Whoa, you are in with honorable mention. How's it going? You know, the nice part about it is even with the few people, with the 40,000-ish, where are we here? I wonder. My poor little calculator has been having trouble. Mind you, the poor thing is 50 years old, so that might explain it. What we got? 675? I do believe we're in trouble. I think my solar powered calculator may have finally bit the biscuit. So I'm going to have to look into that. Whoop, that was wrong. 675 times 60. Yeah, just over 40,000 people right now. Essentially that we're reaching. No, not a whole lot of impact. But here's the thing, guys. If we do this in your world, in your home, in your office, it will start to affect the way things are going. And this has a radial effect. It will impact on the areas near you. Probably only 60, 75% of them. But every little bit adds up. I mean, let's face it. If you're only increasing coverage by 1% a day, you're looking at 100 days and you've increased percentage by 100%. Now, we got to do better. Okay, we really do. One of the things I found with streamlining your energy is if you stay focused on the outcome, not on the little things. Okay? You do the little things, but focus on your goal. Because I will tell you, when you think about it, a child, when they're learning to walk, concentrates on standing up. Now, most people say the hardest step to take is the first one. Let me explain something to you. They stand up, and everybody does that to start with. Okay, that's the first step. The second one is usually because of catching your balance. Okay, so it's almost an automatic thing. The most difficult step is the third one. That's when you decide, okay, I'm going to repeat this process and I'm going to make my life more accessible, more exciting, more successful. But how many people have told you what is success? I see all these ads on Facebook and what have you, where they go, oh, you can make all this money and be successful. I'm telling you, I've dealt with a lot of millionaires. Okay. Dealt with a lot of millionaires that tell me all the money in the world did not help them be happy. So I'm not going to tell you how to be happy. I am going to tell you, start clearing the clutter out of your room. Okay, out of your office first. Okay, and yes, I've got a number of books that are on the go, but now we're getting into a roll. Okay, which means now we can start getting them moved. Of course, the reality is every tool out there, doesn't matter how good it is, the most valuable and most useful tool in the world is absolutely pointless if you don't pick it up. Now, the reason I talk about removing the clutter is because of the fact that I know for an absolute certainty I've done it. Okay, so I'm talking from firsthand experience. People say if you're going to write about something you know. Okay, so I write about self-help. Okay, I've been dealing with people's problems and with people's hang-ups since I was 10 years old. This means I've got half a century under my belt of looking at various aspects of people and going, this is what works and this is what doesn't. On the whole. Now, I love the people that go, oh, that won't happen to me. You know how many people have told me, oh, it won't happen to me. I won't fall down the stairs. And it's like, down you go. But this brings to mind the idea of that's probably a bad idea to compare. There are a certain type of people that you can compare to slinkies. Okay, because they're basically useless. However, just like the slinky, you push it down the stairs, it brings a smile to your face. Now you figure out what type of people that fits. The thing is, as the clutter goes away, you'll find the energy changes. You'll find your energy level climbs, your ability to think clearly climbs, and even your ability to communicate, which, by the way, is tied directly to your ability to think. It also improves. Now, don't take my word for it. Absolutely. Sit there and you can sit there and look at me and go, that won't work for me. And you know what? Whether you believe it will work or you believe it won't, in either event, you're likely to be correct. So, like I said, do what you will with it. In all fairness, and this is going to sound real cold coming from me, but whether your life straightens out or not has no functional bearing on whether mine does. Okay, I'm doing what I'm talking about because, frankly, I'm tired of the idea of going, I'm thinking of doing this. I think about doing a lot of things, and most of them, it's probably a good thing I don't actually follow through. I mean, you think about it. When I started writing the Elderbocking Chronicles, I started off blowing up the world. This is not a good way for an advanced society to evolve. However, virtually every society I know of that has attained a certain level of technology or certain level of convenience, every one of them have almost blown their society to bits first. Now, bring that into your own life. Okay, I destroyed my life to the point of having virtually no income and no prospect for any. Okay, so I went right down to the bare bottom, right to the bare brass. But I am now turning it around and starting to make headway. Okay, but this only happens if you get off your tail feathers. Okay, and yes, this means spiritually. Look at what you're worshiping. Okay, and yes, I did use the term what, because I will tell you, and I'm going to be posting this anyway, but if you're worshiping, whether it's a god, a goddess, the source, Mother Nature, doesn't matter. Put a name to it. Okay, if whatever you're worshiping, number one, punishes you for not doing exactly what they said, you might want to take a look at what you're up to or who you're following. Same thing applies to the people that are running countries. Okay, if you're following a politician that is giving you a pile of well, let's face it, a shovel full of what you'd like to hear and saying, this is what I'm going to do, ask yourself, are they actually following through? Okay, and let's not go with the idea of, oh, it's too complicated sometimes for them to do it. Okay, here's how complicated it is. They have a pen. They have a choice. They're pushing for some sort of document. Sign it and push it forward. If it comes back, push it forward again. Yes, it has to be a cooperative effort. Now, you guys, and I've seen it happen in this stream. I've seen it happen where somebody's coming to disturb it, and even before Storm had a chance to remove the person, everybody in the room pitched together and went, we're not happy with your behavior, go away. That individual, I forget what his name was, or hers, I don't know which, but that individual succumbed to the pressure of the majority of people here. Politics, religion, society works the same way. Doesn't matter who's sitting in the leadership position. If you remove the clutter, in other words, take away their ability to make things happen without your go-ahead, all of a sudden, you're clearing the clutter out of the area. And like I posted on Facebook today, there is so much bad going on in the world, so much good, and so much neutral, with so many good, bad, neutral people. Why is it that the massive majority of stuff on the net that's being posted, that's being talked about in lounges, in bars, in living rooms, why is so much of it negative? Okay, whether it's made up or real is not my concern. Okay, but what we have to realize is if we're going to get the clutter out, you start with your own house and then work on the area around you. And yes, this does mean opening your mouth and saying something to a complete stranger where necessary. Okay, point in fact, a neighbor who, quite frankly, I never did talk to much, but understand, I live in an apartment, I close my door, I don't leave my apartment. The odds of my talking to a neighbor are not good. Okay, but I found out they were moving out, primarily because I came out and they had boxes going down the hallway. So I talked to them for a moment, and it wasn't a question of making any sort of derogatory remark. It was simply rid your mind of the negative stuff. And of course, everybody goes, but there's so much of it that's bombarding me. It's a neat thing, and modern tech works the same way the old tech back in the 70s worked. Okay, if your computer is spewing a bunch of garbage, a bunch of negativity, turn the thing off. Amazingly enough, that will cut down on the amount of negativity you're being bombarded with. Okay, but again, the real trick, and this will clear out everything. Okay, that was just a rude thought. You know, you want to clear all the clutter out of your house, burn the house down. This is a bad idea. Okay, because then you got no house to live in. But when you're exposed to anything negative, subject yourself to two things of a positive nature. How do you know if it's a positive thing? If it makes you feel better. Okay. And just to be clear, because I know there's some of you out there that are absolutely twisted. Well, it makes me feel better seeing bad people get hurt. Probably does. Lord knows it does for me. However, look for what's good about them. Every individual has something good in them. Okay, something that is well done, that is put together properly. I'm really going down a bad road where it comes to the thoughts that hit my head. You know, you burn all the clutter, problem solved. You know, if somebody is well done, yeah, my first thought is steak. This is not a good thing. But when you're looking at all the things going on around you, find the ones that make you feel better. Okay, when I tied off believe in your success and follow your dreams, okay, I felt an immense sense of, yes, that's one of the projects I've been working on. It's now off my table. Okay, I've got one thing left to do with it, and that is simply to look up to assign up an ISBN number, and that I've already got the access to. Then it goes to print. Needless to say, maybe it will be available both in hard copy and on PDF file. Okay, personally, I prefer the hard copy, but every one of the books that I am writing is available on the Buy Me a Coffee link at the top at buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej. Okay, that will get you everywhere. When we talk about, that'll get you access to everything I'm up to. When we are talking about streamlining your energy, it starts with the office, wherever you're doing your work. Okay, that gets the brain working. Then you target the bedroom. Make sure you've got a place to rest. Okay, you're going to need the rest of the house done. And yes, working on that as well. In the way of, because I'm really pushing to get a lot of this information out in written form before I finally die for the last time. This lifetime. You know, and the fact of the matter is, I'm getting started real late in life. So for you and those of you that are younger than me, and I'll tell you, there are days when it feels like Methuselah was younger than me. By the way, Methuselah, guy from way back in Christian teachings and beliefs, 962 years old. I'll tell you, I feel a lot older than that on occasion. But for those of you that are younger than me, start now. This is not a question of you've got to have it organized by the time you get to be 20. You don't. Okay. But the sooner the better. And I will tell you, for those of you that are over 20, if you believe that idea, I've got to have my life in order by the time I'm 20, you're completely hooked. Okay. Now, you cannot alter the fact you can't do it by 20 if you're already older. But what you can do is get the clutter out of your area now. And this will enhance a few things. One, energy levels go up. Your thinking capacity clarifies. Okay, your health improves. Your sleep improves. Now, a couple other things you can do to enhance that. If you've got the time and or money. Okay, and you've definitely got the time. You just have to organize it right. But for those of you worrying about whether your mind is going to collapse, some of you forget it already did. Okay, but learning a new language is a way of enhancing your mind. Now, here's the kicker to it: learning how to streamline the energy in your house. This is a new language. Okay, because it's a new language if you're not already doing it. Okay, and one of the things we have to look at is you ask one question only: are you personally content with your health, your energy levels, your thinking capacity, your productivity levels? Are you content with them? Not is anybody else. There are a staggering number of teachers out there that will tell you how to be successful. And I'm telling you, it's great. They give you ideas. But how many do you know that will help you figure out what you feel success is? Okay, I don't know a whole lot of them. One of the things you will find is that as your brain comes online, you'll get all kinds of new ideas, which is why I'm striving to tie off these different books. I keep getting new books listed off that I've got to get on. Well, I'm 62 years old, and sooner or later, I'm going to drop dead. And when I do, all the information I'm sitting on goes away. It gets lost in the dust again. I'm doing my best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, I cannot tell you how to live your life. I can tell you, Blue Cruise goes, I just had a birthday. Well, happy belated birthday to you there, Blue. He says, definitely way younger than 900. And then 900 and some years old. Yeah, my memories date back a long way. And this is why I look at society going, we have a problem here, but it is correctable. And the fact of the matter is, it's up to you to correct your life. Absolutely pray to who you will. Okay, absolutely. Positive thinking works. Positive affirmations, all of them. Prayer help keep you focused on the positive. But where it comes to spirituality, if you're turning to somebody that is constantly telling you, do it my way, or you're going to be punished, this is not a positive role model. Okay, growing up, my parents used to have a saying. Certain people my age, most of you had the same thing. My parents would look at me if I was crying as a child, right? They'd look at me and go, Keith, knock off the tears or I'll give you something to cry about. Now, it always confused me because I'm thinking, I'm in tears. Obviously, I've got something to cry about. So I modified it. I swore I would never do that to my kids. So I modified it and I looked at them and went, kids, knock it off or I'll give you something that I consider worth crying about. Okay, but streamlining your energy boils down to this. I've got a shelf up here. Everything that doesn't belong on is gone. Okay, I've got a place to keep my coffee cup. That's necessary because I like my coffee. More to the point, I don't like chlorinated water. But get the stuff out of the way. Okay, now there's a belief that goes this way. If you've got a box of junk and you haven't been into it for a year, get rid of it. You don't require it. Unless it is holiday material, if you're into decorating for the holidays. Okay, you're using it once a year, put it out of the way. Natural keepsakes. I've got a box that's got some of the stuffies I had growing up. If I can remember what I did with it, I'd probably bring one out. But I still have the first stuffed bull that I won at the Pacific National Exhibition. Okay, yes, it's clutter, it's stuff that really doesn't have any functional value, but things like that you hang on to. On the other hand, I have a whole pile of arts and crafts stuff of artwork that I'm never going to get to. I've just got too many other things on the go that have been in boxes for years. I'm starting to load them into boxes and get rid of them. Yes, I do recommend going through because there might be something in it that has definite value. Okay, like you can't see them, but I've got 3 boxes of comics over here. And I've already committed myself to pulling them out a unit at a time. In other words, here's a series, post it, and go, this is what I've got up for grabs. And I will be selling them to people that are willing to actually deal with it. Operation Notes. I generally wait 6 months to acknowledge my past birthdays. And the neat little, that was Blue Cruise that said that. I was asked what I think of birthdays. I've actually got 2. Okay. The first one is the one I was born on. That would be May 13th, 1963. So yes, I'm coming right quick to 62. The other one was August 1st of 1968. That was the day I walked out of the morgue. And I'll tell you, that brings with it a whole pile of mental clutter. So yes, I've got to deal with what that meant when I came back. Because rest assured, it wasn't exactly voluntary. Blue grows and goes, April babies are the best. That depends on who you talk to. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you feel April babies are the best. I will tell you that my eldest brother, the one that passed away a few years back, was an April baby. As a matter of fact, his birthday would have passed. We are on 4 days ago. He would have had another birthday. He'd have been 67. He didn't make it that far. But every child from every species, in my opinion, is a wonder. Okay, it's a wonder half of them are still breathing in today's world, but the reality of it is this. When we take a look at the kids, okay, Whitney Houston put it best way back in, I think, the 70s, when she wrote a song, the children are our future. Well, our future relies on modifying the present to make it happen. No. Operations going, Keith, in your past lives, were you born around the same time of year? I've been born in all kinds of different times of the year. But what I did bring with me in virtually every one of them is this drive to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay, I've done it in some very different fashions. Sometimes in a very violent fashion, sometimes in very congenial, very passive. And sometimes I just said, scrap it, I'm not dealing with it. The reality of it is, when you come into this life, you're coming in to learn different aspects. Now, I've been born under every sign of the zodiac. But we got to remember here, okay, my memories date back further than the construction of Earth. Okay, this means I've had a lot of birthdays because most of my lifetimes I seem to have, because I missed a few, but when I piece them together, it's almost a case of I've got about 7 years between being dead and being living again. I don't take a lot of time for turnaround. But what I have decided, and it only took me 62 years almost to reach the point where, okay, now it's time to step out of the shadows and go, this is how we do it. It's up to you to pick up the tools, but I will put as many out there as possible. Okay. And I am very willing to share that information, going through positive perspectives and the live streams. I am going to put out as much of the information as possible. Okay. But those two venues are free. Books, sorry guys, cost to put them together. But I'm keeping it as minimal as I can because the way I figure it, the information is way more valuable in the hands of others than it is just being written and left on my desk. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, this all boils down to the same thing. I talked about the office desk first. I'm also referring to over here, I've got a 4-drawer filing cabinet. It's got to have all the files cleared out of it. Same as this stuff here. It's all files I've been going through. This is all physical garbage, physical junk that's got to be sorted out. And the more it's sorted out, the better I'm going to be able to function. The more your house is sorted out, the better you're going to be able to function. Don't take my word for it. If you haven't done it already, give it a shot. Just a little bit of work in one room will help. Okay, it may seem like a kind of a pointless issue. Okay, but I will tell you, because I've got this bad habit myself, so I'm not talking about perfection here, but I feel so much better in my kitchen when the kitchen is cleared than I do when I got dirty dishes all over the place. Okay, and I've heard the same thing from so many people. Now, nowadays, everybody's, oh, I've got to have instant gratification. Well, here's a cute thought for you. Okay, lot of really good books, a lot of really good speakers out there telling you how, given a week, down to 13 minutes, thanks so much, LA, given a week, you can make your life better. Okay, it'll take you a week to get there, but a week down the road, you can do it. I am very impatient. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do it in 6 seconds. And yes, LA was kind enough to help us with this a few weeks back, maybe a couple months for all I know at this point. Okay, but the tools I work with work now. They don't work. It doesn't take you a week or a month down the road. They work now. Now, I don't know about you. I'm not that patient, so I'm much happier with the idea of make change at this point. It already affects it. But you got to remember, streamlining takes time. Because, picture it this way. Take a pot of water, and this is a test you can do for yourself. Take a bucket of water. Take a spoon. Put it in the bucket of water and spin it around. Get it going to a good degree. Okay, that's the way your life is going. If you're not happy with it, take the spoon, you're going in one direction, turn around and spin the other way. Now, I will tell you, when you do this, you're going to have chaos in the bucket as water tries continuing to go the same way it's been going, and then you've got the other stuff going the other direction. However, in time, that energy flow will reverse and become a whole lot more smooth. And I'm going to lose the phone. I don't like that. There, avoided that. Okay, this is what we're talking about doing, is literally taking the energy and shifting the direction it's going in order to make sure that you can now live a different life. Because the reality behind it is this. If you leave the energy in your life running in the same direction, your life is going to continue moving in the same direction. This doesn't make a lot of difference to me. Aside from, I wish the best for you. But it's up to you to make it happen. Okay. I cannot, well, I might be able to, but I'm not going to. I cannot alter your world for you. You're going to have to do that for yourself. Okay. Now, what have I got here? Just because I know we're getting down. Now, the reality of it is this. When you're looking at the way your energy in your house, in your life is going, okay, here's a neat trick for those of you that are, like me, theoretically retired. When you get up in the morning, okay, get dressed, especially if you happen to be working from home. Get dressed as though you're going to work. It will help you focus on that aspect of it. And again, it really boils down to making certain things happen in a way that you're content with, not in the way that somebody else is. That's what this whole thing is all about. If you leave the energy running the way it is, that it has been, your life stays doing the thing it's been doing. And way too many people have come to me and told me, gee, I wish I'd changed my life earlier. Well, you can carry on with that thought. I had a client decades back that when she came to me, she was 52. And she told me she had this lifelong dream. She desired to be a doctor. Right? And so I talked to her, I worked with her for a little bit. By the time she was 53, she was enrolled in medical school. And I warned her, I said, look, you can do it. I will warn you that the odds are you're not going to be a full doctor for very long before they start recommending retirement. Okay. But at 60 years old, she managed to get herself a medical degree. At 60 years old, 2019 would have been just shy of 60. Okay, 57, I think, when I actually published my first book. Okay, you can attain these goals, whatever they are, but it takes getting the clutter out of the way first. Okay, and the reason I say that is exactly the fact, and I call it fact because I've seen it happen. Yeah, LA goes, I do the dress thing too. It tells my body we're going to work. I don't personally do the dress thing. I like pants and shirt, but, to each their own. It's like I told my fiance, you don't like what I'm wearing, that's no problem. You pick what you'd like to wear. I like me to wear. I don't wear pink. And by the way, I don't care if salmon is a good color or pink. I don't wear pink, and I don't wear dresses and skirts. Other than that, I'm pretty open. But you'll find the same with getting dressed. Clear the clutter out of the way, and your life will start to run more effectively. I know that sounds weird. Okay, this is why I use the list method, because I keep 3 things on the list. Okay, 3 things at a time, including marking down when I'm going to have supper. I've got to have breakfast, so we write that down. Making certain even the little things are taken care of. Okay, but I will tell you, for those of you that are on your own, okay, eventually, because the human race and many of the other corporeals, and non-corporeals for that matter, were designed to have a partner. That's why we refer to soulmates. Now, we're down to the 5-minute mark. Okay. And what we're going to look at here, we will be back again tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow we are looking at visual foci. Okay, which really boils down to how can we take a physical item, and help you stay focused on it for your benefit. Okay, that's tomorrow. But I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Sad to say we're just shutting down, but hopefully you got caught up with it. I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. I do look forward to talking to you again. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.